Thank you all for attending this evening's Conservation Commission. For all those that wish to, please stand to salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll do roll call. Brian?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
Joseph Lavelle? Here. Bernardo?
Here.
Amelia?
Here.
And Wilson is not present. Today we do have a associate commissioner joining us today, Dora Hallett. I'd like all of our commissioners to give her a nice warm welcome. Thank you very much for being willing to serve. But as an associate commissioner, she will not be able to vote or sign any of the documents that we do vote on. You will, however, be able to participate fully in every other capacity, but thank you for joining us. First up is review and approval of the meeting minutes. Do I have any changes or additions to the meeting minutes from last time? No? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve last time's meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. We're going to have to take a brief recess, please. Motion to take a brief recess.
Motion to make a brief recess.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, first up on the agenda tonight is a notice of intent, DEP file number 0610834. This is the McClellan Highway Development Company LLC, the Suffolk Downs off-site roadway improvements that we walked down now, what is it? A few weeks ago now. This was to basically make road improvements to better the flow of traffic in the area and enhance the Suffolk Downs area. Open the hearing. Perfect. Excellent.
Good evening, Rick Latini, civil engineer with Howard Stein Hudson, and I'm joined tonight with Abby Middleton. She's representing the applicant, the McClellan Highway Development Company. As you can see, this is a transportation improvement project. It's related to the master plan redevelopment of Suffolk Downs, which you can see on the right side of this board. Our improvements are located off the southwesterly portion of the site. The area that's in red, the hash in red, that's in the city of Boston, and the portion that's in the city of Revere is in orange. So these are basically minor activities within Route 1A, which is a state highway that's owned and maintained, as you know, by Mass DOT. The purpose is to improve vehicle and pedestrian safety as well as accessibility out there. The work, as I explained out in the site when I was out there, was the work remains within the footprints of the existing sidewalks in the roadways. And of course, we'll have erosion and sediment control, proper erosion and sediment control, such as compost filter tubes and catch basin filters such as silt sack. So just to go over I'll go through the project quickly, hopefully within 5 minutes. The Route 1A is an urban principal artery, has 2 lanes of traffic in each direction, sidewalk on each side, as you probably know. Today, Tomasello Way is not signalized. However, you can take a U-turn at Tomasello Way northbound to go head back in the southbound direction. And you can also take a left turn southbound going into Tomasello Way. So I'll zoom into our intersection. Let's go over the improvements really quickly. We are modifying this existing traffic island a little bit to provide a better queue for that U-turn, as well as make this lane, it's 9 feet now, we're gonna make it 11 feet. We're also adding this cement concrete median here in the middle. That, first of all, it separates that U-turn and the left turn traffic. We're also putting a new traffic signal in there. This island here, it has a widening near what's called the jug handle over here, and we're eliminating that widening so we can have a consistent median width, and what that does, it allows us to extend that left turn queue into Tomasello Way. Since we're adding signals here which don't exist, they will have a pedestrian phase, so we'll be able to add a crossing across Route 1A, which doesn't exist near this area now. We're also reconstructing the end of our Tomasello Way. We're narrowing it a little bit here, which you can see by this green hatch. Reconstructing this island here, kind of give it a curve to the right because it's a right turn only out of Tomasello Way, so that'll further reinforce that motion. We are reconstructing the driveway here. It's called the Massport driveway, but it's actually the northerly entry into 480 McClellan Highway. So all this actually is within the city of Boston. The work in Revere is mostly around the jug handle, which, if you guys know, is a place where you can turn around from the southbound to go back to the northbound direction. That's the primary purpose of it. That is signalized today, but we are going to replace all the signals with new signals. And similarly, we're adding a pedestrian crossing at Route 1A, so that'll be a few more pedestrian signals we're adding. So we don't think there'll be any negative impacts to the resource areas here. Matter of fact, most of this project isn't even within the 100-foot buffer, which is this dashed red line here. There is land subject to coastal storm flows on the northerly portion of the project. It's that magenta line that kind of goes through the center line of the jug handle, and that continues northerly off the sheet. But in this area, we're just doing traffic signalization, reconstruction ramps, and we're not like widening the roadway, and there's no material change in grades. So we're here tonight requesting the commission consider issuing some order conditions to allow this transportation improvement project to go forward. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Thank you very much. One of the questions that I had when we did the site walk down was there was a bridged area that came over, I believe it was just before the Revere side. What kind of sediment controls or erosion controls are you going to be implementing over there? I know it's on the Boston side, but it's kind of it goes downriver to us.
Yeah, you're talking about here. Yes, there's a
Yeah.
pretty big culvert here, and there's a drop off if you remember. So
Yeah.
there's a wall there that actually protects sediment from going over. But I think as we discussed there, we'd probably put the compost filter tubes and just tie it right up against the guardrail.
Okay.
And the guardrail actually has a little bit of lip above the sidewalk, so it's like almost double protection, if you will. So that's, I think we even discussed, even when we got off the bridge, we'd still try to keep the compost filter tube up against that guardrail.
Even that embankment past the bridge, once you get onto the Revere side, there is opportunity for sediment and things to get in over in that area. It's just and on the other side where the jug handle exits, the same situation is happening over there. Yeah, right there.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure that your erosion controls are robust in those areas.
Yeah, like I said, we're just proposing the 12-inch compost filter tubes, just because it's sidewalk work, so there won't be a lot of disturbance.
Okay. At this time, I want to open up to any of the other commissioners if they have any questions about the project.
Are you just milling and overlaying?
Sorry, I forgot to mention, there is some, when we're all done putting the traffic signal conduits and stuff, we will be milling and overlaying from, on the northbound side, from Thomasello Way all the way here to the end of the project, just past the jug handle. On the northbound side here, we'll be milling and overlaying from here to just past Thomasello Way, so a couple of areas of mill and overlay, yes.
Any other questions? So at this time, I'd like to open it up to any opponents of the proposed project. Nope. And any proponents, you don't count, but. Okay, so seeing as how you will be managing your sedimentation that could be developed from this, you're not changing grade, and it would be a minimal impact to just reconfigure lanes in this situation, and also enhancing the traffic patterns is also something that is gonna alleviate some of the road damage that occurs in that area getting into our protected areas. So at this time, I would like to call for, to approve the notice of intent for this work.
I'll make a motion to approve the NOI for this work.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you very much for your time. Okay. Next up is a notice of intent, DEP file 0610833. This is Revere Mass Owner LLC, 277 Park Ave, 45th floor. This is for the Lee Burbank Highway proposed construction of a 77,000 square foot technology warehousing development with some office space as well.
Good evening, just for the record, Scott Morrison from BHB, here with me is Dan Ketch, is the project
Just
engineer,
wanna-
also from BHB.
Open the hearing, excuse me, sorry. Jumped the gun a little there. Thank you.
So the existing site, which is below this, the commission's gone out and reviewed and was part of the previous approval, if you recall. We were back before you.
Oh, the mics, oh, I didn't even see, thank you. Sorry about that.
All right, sorry about that. Just for the record, Scott Morrison from VHB. The existing site is located at 96 to 186A Burbank Highway. If you recall, we were back before this commission in the fall for the demolition work. So we're here tonight with the follow-up, the development of the proposed site. So the site consists of a 9.9 acre site along Chelsea Creek, which is in the rear. Proposed warehouse building There's an existing warehouse building fueling station that was demoed or is in the process of being demoed and previously approved. There's really no natural buffers in between the wetland resource areas and the existing site. It's, either building, pavement, or compacted gravel. The proposed project consists of a 77,600 square foot technology warehouse, loading dock, parking, utility improvements, and stormwater system. There'll be some significant stormwater improvements. There's an existing discharge pipe here that takes water from the project area, the existing site, and direct discharges it here. The proposed project will include deep sump catch basins, water quality unit, and a subsurface sand filter prior to any discharge to the creek. So a substantial improvement. There are some wetland impacts associated with this project. The vast majority of the project is within land subject to coastal storm flowage, so we've got 429,100 square feet of impact to land subject to coastal storm flowage. That's associated with the project site, buildings and parking lots in that area. There's no impact to bordering vegetative wetland. We've got 40 square feet of impact to coastal beach associated with the stormwater discharge. We've also got 42 square feet of coastal bank impact also associated with the discharge. We've also got 135,000 square feet of impact to riverfront area. That riverfront area is previously degraded, so existing building, existing pavement, existing gravel. We have sent a copy of the notice of intent to the Division of Marine Fisheries. They issued a letter indicating that there's no time of year restrictions or any issues with the proposed project. We've also forwarded, we just received the final letter this afternoon.
Yeah, I saw that from Mass Wildlife for the negative determination.
Yes, so that we've got the will not adversely affect letter from Natural Heritage. I think at this point, I'd be happy to answer questions, but we're seeking a order of conditions.
I don't have any questions. It's, the site as it stands is pretty degraded, and the fact that you will be making your stormwater management system pre-treating before you're putting it out there is definitely something that is going to enhance the site, considering the amount of rock salt and road treatment that gets done in that area. So that's good on you guys for doing that. Any other questions from commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
through you to the gentleman, those parking spaces on the left-hand side look substantial. Are those mostly for trucks?
Yes. Those would be-
And what kind of materials are you expecting to have in those?
To my knowledge, that they don't have an end user for this building. It would be constructed on spec, so they don't have a end user and materials that would be stored in here, so.
Would the end user change any of the drainage or filtering that you would need in that particular parking area?
No, what's proposed for the stormwater, so the deep sump catch basins, the water quality unit, and the sand filter are all proposed. That's gonna be permitted and constructed as part of this. The other thing that I didn't mention that I wanted to mention was that based upon this, we're actually proposing 1.6 acres of added landscape and approximately 100 new trees. So there'll be some substantial improvements as far as landscape and trees and such.
I had another question. Is there still a railroad spur in the back?
Yes.
And are you removing that?
No. There's a railroad spur that cuts across in the back. The only place that would be impacted would be associated with the stormwater discharge where it crosses those existing tracks.
Have you guys been
And-
permitted by MBTA with that yet, or no?
Yeah, one correction, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the spur behind the building will be removed.
For the record, Dan Ketches with VHB. So there is a small railroad portion back here. It's behind, right adjacent to the existing warehouse building on the project site, and that, a portion of that will be removed. And we are in process with MBTA for the license.
Good luck. Good luck. Any other questions?
Just with an area with that much frontage to everything, One of the things I think about is whether or not in your lease for a new tenant, well, I don't know if someone's already signed or if you have a lease agreement in place, to just make sure that they will upkeep the area, because it's very easy for people throwing stuff out and it just ending up in places, and then 20 years later, it looks like a pit. So just to kind of make sure it, you know, as this obviously is beautifying the area, just even being a building compared to what it was. I just want to make sure that it's going to be upkept, whether it's through you or part of the lease of whoever's coming next.
Yeah, so I'm, just to be clear, I'm the wetland scientist on the project with VHB. We'll alert the property owner and applicant regarding that. I'm sure that, you know, he's gonna invest substantial amounts of money in a new building, and the last thing he wants is to have debris and other people dumping material on his site. So I'm sure it'll be kept up, but I'll express that concern to him.
I definitely can echo that a little bit. It's so close to such a degraded resource that having that maintained would definitely be something that I would be probably putting a special condition so that it would be maintained as such. And what kind of plantings were you thinking of putting in that area? Would you be enhancing it with the or native plantings, or is it mostly going to be grass?
Behind the building, if I remember correctly, it's mostly grass. Most of the landscape plantings and trees are kind of in the front and along the sides.
Okay.
Because it's really kind of a narrow swath. They'll have to kind of maintain it because it's right up against the back of the building. So kind of probably periodic mowing there.
I would definitely want to see what you would be using for plantings on the property, and make sure that it's compatible with our existing, this area here. You know, if we're going to try and beautify and make it better, let's make it better all the way.
Yep,
If you get my
and there's a detailed landscape plan that was provided as part of the materials.
I didn't see I saw that it was going to be primarily grass. I didn't see what kind of trees that on it. I don't know why I didn't miss that. I must have missed it.
Yeah, I don't
apologize.
recall the specific trees.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just an administrative comment. The order of conditions for demo and then the order of conditions for construction for each one of these lots has been a lot of work, a lot of stuff for us, a lot of site walks, a lot of confirming things are in place. So just for future reference, I understand the schedule, but this building's still standing right now, so we didn't really need to do it, but just for VHB's knowledge.
Yep, understood.
I know that you've removed, I drive by that site quite often, and I know that some of the piping has been removed, but yeah, the building's still up and it's got a long way to go.
Yeah, agreed.
So at this time, I'd like to open it up for anybody in the audience that is opposed to this project, if they would like to speak. Okay, same rules apply to you. You can't speak in favor of it, but anybody in favor of the project that would like to speak on it? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so close the hearing out. So at this time, seeing how it will be an enhancement and definitely getting any of the oil things out of that area is an enhancement, in my humble opinion. But I would like to put it to the commission to to approve this project here, this notice of intent.
I would make a motion to approve the NOI.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That was a little reverb there. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. You're welcome. All right, next up, we have a request for determination of applicability, and this is the commuter train right-of-way MBTA vegetation management plan. Now, before we get started, I know it's certain certifications and things need to be held to be able to go out and inspect these areas and to be able to work in these areas. So, and none of us hold those credentials, and it would be very difficult to manage us getting out there to actually see the site. So if you can give us a little bit more insight as to what you are doing for this RDA, I would appreciate that. No, yep, there you are. And if you could state your name and.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Matt Donovan. I'm from Benish, here to represent Keolis for this RDA. Confirm the accuracy of the maps used for herbicide application along the commuter rail right-of-way. We submit this RDA to your commission every 5 years, required by CMR 11, and it's required to get these determinations before submitting the 5-year vegetation management plan to Mass Department of Agricultural Resources. The vegetation management plan is designed to manage and control vegetation necessary to keep the railroad and operations safe, and regulations are in place to keep sensitive areas protective throughout the duration of the plan. The sensitive area restrictions are listed and described in CMR 11.04 as well as our vegetation management plan. The maps that we've provided you with are mainly made for the chemical portion of the plan, but often dictate where mechanical methods will be used due to chemical restrictions. There are two main chemical applications each year, one in the May-June timeframe that targets the roadbed, and one in the August-September timeframe that targets the brush and areas adjacent to the roadbed. The sensitive areas marked with the blue and yellow areas on your maps are restricted from the brush program and only receive the roadbed application, which is what I'll focus on because that's the only program that happens in these sensitive areas of jurisdiction. So the roadbed application is performed with a spray truck that drives on the track and is equipped with nozzles on the backside located about 18 inches above the tracks, and it sprays the solution directly down onto the track. The truck has arms that extend at the same elevation, has arms that extend out approximately 12 feet from the center line of the track to target the shoulders of the roadbed. The certified applicator is always accompanied by an environmental monitor, familiar with the site conditions and equipped with these maps, instructing the operator as necessary. The applicator has the ability to turn all of the nozzles off, or in many cases, just the side where it targets the shoulder of the track, where it may be getting into the buffer zone of these sensitive areas. The yellow zones never will receive herbicides on the shoulders and oftentimes won't receive any herbicide application, but the environmental monitor and applicator at their discretion may spray directly down onto the tracks, just where to the edge of the tie where the track needs to be totally free of all vegetation. The blue areas typically represent being within 100 feet of a sensitive area, and these zones typically receive the full roadbed treatment, but the environmental monitor and applicator are on alert to shut off the sides, the shoulders, for if at any point in that area there's like wetness or any water in the ditches or anything in that area, they won't be spraying within 10 feet of that. In these blue and yellow zones, due to the limited spray, more effort is put into controlling the vegetation with physical and mechanical measures as needed. The chemicals that are used vary each year, but are typically chosen by the certified applicator in coordination with Keolis. All these chemicals come from the approved sensitive area material list provided by Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, and we provide the exact mixtures in the yearly operation plan that we send to your commission every year that you should have just received for the 2025. Your commission does have the opportunity to comment on the VMP during the review process when we do submit it after we get all these determinations, and it'll probably end up being at the end of summer to be ready for the 2026 to 2030 timeframe. So I'm happy to go open it up to questions, and if you have any specific areas of interest, we are requesting a positive 2A determination to confirm the maps and a negative 2, as your commission has done in the past, to exempt from the work to be done.
So because this is the area where it is exempt, and we do appreciate you coming before us every 5 years to recertify this plan, and the plan that you did submit definitely outlined in a lot of detail where and how you're going to be applying the herbicides. Now, is it mostly for the Phragmites encroaching on that area? What is it basically to mitigate that? I wasn't really.
So you'd be surprised if you just let it go, the actual ballasted track section, which is the most important part to keep clear, that'll start growing weeds and almost grassy type weeds. And that's the main objective, like the number one area to keep clear, and that's in your areas of jurisdiction. That is all we'll be doing, is keeping that ballasted area clear as far as herbicides go. So it's the full eradication of any weeds in that 12-foot from center line of track.
I didn't realize the weeds would be able to offset your ballast that much.
Yeah, and the ballast is a structural part and drainage, and it keeps you can inspect the track.
I don't have any further questions. Does anybody else have any questions in regards to this project? It is exempt under the Wetland Protection Act for this work, but I would call for a negative determination that this will not impact the wetlands.
I'll make,
Oh, I'm sorry, didn't see you. Didn't see you over there, sir. Apologize.
I just have a question. I never been a fan of chemicals, throwing chemicals. I know this forever chemical. Yeah, and my question is, have you heard any conversations to? Probably the reason why we go with chemicals is cost effective. That's probably why the main reason. Do you know if for the future they're looking to do other ways? Again, these forever chemicals. Again, I'm not a big fan of them. They impact the wildlife. I'm sure you put it 10 feet away from the water, but still, if it rains, it's going to go into the wetlands, and that's going to impact the wildlife, the sea life, and for me, that's a big. So my question is, have you heard anything about changing to another way to stay away from chemicals?
There's definitely efforts made to limit the chemicals with mechanical and other measures. I don't think I think we're kind of in the way that is the most effective, as it's been happening for so long. But you did bring up a good point there about the rain. There are a lot of restrictions for weather, wind, rain. They have the applicator ready to go for more days than what it actually takes to account for weather, so they'll cancel days and reschedule they have them on the book for more days than what's actually needed. But yeah, there's no real, for the actual roadbed itself, there's no feasible alternative.
No, thank you for answering that. I just thrown it there, and maybe if you can carry the message that if it was for me, I wouldn't approve it, but I know it is what it is, and we need the train, the community needs it. But at the same time, if we can look for ways to make it so we don't impact generations to come, and we can protect the wildlife, and that would be huge as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I know the state does a lot of research with all these herbicides, and they make the approved list after doing all kinds of studies, absorption rates, and not letting it. They know exactly how far it's going to spread, and they've studied water downstream of where this is applied. So for these to get approved, it does go through a good process. So it makes me feel a little better, at least.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Absolutely.
Is there certain weather requirements before you actually do spray any of the things, like just the wind to minimize the spreading of the chemicals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, rain and wind. I don't know exactly what the regulations say, but that's on the applicator. They're licensed with the state of Massachusetts, so they have to follow all those regulations.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Anything else? No? All right. So let's take two. So I'd like to call for a negative determination that this will not impact the area.
I'll make a motion for negative determination of applicability.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
could we also, and I don't know if it's too late, but we are seeking a positive 2A determination as well.
So the work that you're doing is covered under the request for I'm not really sure what you're asking for here, or why you're asking for that.
So
From this part.
Yeah, I mean, typically, in your commission just gave a -2 last go around. We are seeking a positive 2A to confirm the boundaries of the maps, and
So that, So that's not something that we can do. We're not certified to go out there and do that. So
Gotcha,
that's,
okay.
so I can't definitively say if that can be done by our commission.
Right.
And if it has been done, I'm not sure of who had a license to go out there and work on those things. The maps that you provided are extensive, and what you're doing is approved by multiple agencies to be able to do so. But that part of it, walking down the site and actually doing something like that is not something that we can do.
Gotcha, okay.
So I'm not exactly sure if we could even give you a positive determination on that because we can't actually physically go see it.
Okay,
So, I mean, we can talk offline and figure this out, how that can go, how we can get that done, but that's not something that we can actually do because we're
Okay.
not certified to be out there.
right, okay. Yeah, well, happy with the negative too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get this over to you, and thank you very much for your time. You too. So that was two. All right, so next up is a notice of intent, DEP file number 061083. It's not here on my agenda, but I know you guys have been issued a DEP file number, if you wouldn't mind referencing that when you get up. This is for the Bennington Street Fredericks Park project, the supplemental borings and verification of resource areas.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Elle Baker, Open Space Environmental Planner with the Revere Office of Planning and Community Development.
Just one moment, Ellen, I just want to, open up the hearing.
Do you want me to repeat myself?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's,
This project, Bennington Street, Fredericks Park, is a resiliency and recreational project. It's in partnership with the City of Boston and Revere, and it's funded by the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant. VHB Consulting is here to discuss our request, our notice of intent for specifically the borings, to conduct additional site investigations to inform our design as we move forward, as well as requesting wetland delineation approval. I'm going to turn it over to Taylor Donovan from VHB. Thank you.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to have a presentation.
There we go. Right. Thank you, Elle. So for the record, my name is Taylor Donovan. I'm an environmental scientist with VHB. We are here tonight for the Resilient Bennington Street and Fredericks Park project. This is for geotechnical investigations and wetland resource area boundary confirmation. We did receive a DEP file number today, and that number is 061-0838. So just a brief high-level overview of the project site outlined in red here. This is, again, the Revere portion of the site that is associated with the larger Resilient Bennington Street and Fredericks Park project, which is a joint effort between the cities of Boston and Revere. And so we've been colloquially, referring to this as Fredericks Park, but it is the parcel at 15 Everard Street and includes a portion of Bennington Street. And so the proposed work in the notice of intent, again, includes geotechnical investigations. I do want to correct that in the notice of intent, we called out 6 borings. There are 7 actually proposed. And this markup here tried to make it a little easier for you all to see. I guess first, that yellow line is the municipal boundary between Boston and Revere. And then the dots that are shown in black are the proposed boring locations. And then we did come up with alternative borings locations, which are shown in purple. And this is just, for the commission's, just in case, we go out in the field and they determine that they can't drill at the initially proposed locations. We've already identified alternative locations that correspond generally. They're marked with an A on the plan set, so we have boring 110 and 110A. So those are not, we're not proposing 14 borings, we're only proposing 7, but we did want to present these alternate locations to you up front, just in case field conditions may dictate different, again, locations than initially proposed. And as part of the NOI as well, we are requesting confirmation of resource area boundaries in the area, and this is just to help with permitting later on as the project progresses into later phases. So we've already had the resource areas ironed out with the commission, and it'll help streamline permitting efforts, hopefully. So in this area, we do have Inland Bank associated with Sales Creek, and that's on the left-hand side of the screen, and west of Bennington Street near the pump station. And then associated riverfront area with Sales Creek. Because Sales Creek then goes through the tide gate into the Belle Isle Inlet, the riverfront area does cut off there, and we've provided explanation in the narrative of how we came to that determination of the riverfront area cutting off there. But then as we continue along the Belle Isle Inlet, we do have Salt Marsh, which is that dashed blue line you can see continuing from approximately Bennington Street down to the south of the park. And then Belle Isle Inlet is also regulated as tidal area, tidal flat. We have the 100-foot buffer zone to Salt Marsh, shown in the black line there, extending across the park here. And then we do have land subject to coastal storm flowage, which is this dotted hatch. And then under the, as a local jurisdictional area, there is the 100-foot buffer zone to land subject to coastal storm flowage, shown in the black dashed areas. So these are the first set of borings. And then if I pan over to the east a little bit, we do have the Salt Marsh area continuing along the inlet, again in that dashed blue line, and then an area of bordering vegetated wetland, which is outlined in this pink line here with the flags called out. And it's a little hard to see at this high level, but hopefully a little bit easier for you on the plans that were provided. And again, the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW, we have land subject to coastal storm flowage, and the 100-foot buffer zone to land subject to coastal storm flowage here. I believe those are all the resource areas I wanted to call out for your attention, and I'll just mention that with the bordering vegetated wetland here, the salt marsh that we're showing per the definition in the Wetlands Protection Act regulations, salt marsh extends to the high tide line. In this area, the high tide line has been determined to be 6.82 feet NAVD 88. So that is where the extent of salt marsh stops. And we were able to determine through surveyed elevations that there's actually a berm that separates the salt marsh in this area to the south of the apartment complex. And then where that wetland feature starts on the north side. So that's how we came to the determination of whether or not it was, the salt marsh extending up into that area, or if it is jurisdictional as bordering vegetated wetland. So these are just zoomed in versions of the plan, so I'm happy to go back to these slides if we would like to discuss anything else. But again, seeking confirmation of these resource area boundaries as depicted. It's for 7 geotechnical borings within previously developed areas, several of which are exempt under the Wetlands Protection Act. And just conservatively estimating 25 square feet of temporary impact to land subject to coastal storm flowage for these borings, and 30 square feet of potential temporary impact to the 100-foot buffer zones. So there's no permanent impacts associated with the borings. Any temporary impacts will be mitigated, and they're in previously disturbed areas. Erosion controls will be installed, and areas will be backfilled and restored after completion of work. So. That's what we have for you today, but happy to answer any questions. I know we will be expecting another hearing with you.
Yes, so we do have a site walk down to confirm. The resource area is scheduled for March 24th. It's already been set up. But the other thing, the only question I guess I have is, how large is the boring equipment that you're going to be using? There are some areas where you get very close to even that bermed area. So what are your plans? How large is the equipment that you're using? What kind of lay down stuff are you using? Are you going to be putting down like plywood or something like that just to mitigate the impacts as you get closer to those areas? The ones in the middle of the field are a little easier to mitigate than the ones that get close.
Yeah, so I don't want to speak to contractor means and methods because we don't have those specifics from them yet. But the borings are really only, and conservatively estimated at 5 square feet per boring, so they are relatively small. And I think we'd be happy to work with the commission if there were sensitive areas you would like to see. We could try to work, I don't want to speak again for the contractor, but very conscious of, we don't want to be disturbing the resource areas any more than we need to. And knowing that the site does get very wet, if needed, we would obviously aim for a dry day and hopefully a stretch of dry days so that it's not too swampy out there, but we would use matting if needed. And Elle, I don't know if you want to add anything, but.
And you also plan on putting it back and mitigating as much as you can.
Correct.
After the fact, but we just drilled and did borings for a geothermal system, and the rigs were enormous. I didn't know how large of a rig you guys were the company was going to be bringing in, so I just would be concerned, the closer you get to those marsh areas, just kind of be mindful of that. I mean, you're probably taking, what, a 4-inch or 5-inch boring just to see what kind of substrate you're looking at? That seems about right. Any other questions? No, like I said, we are gonna have to continue this until the next meeting. Wilson, anything over there? No, just making sure. Missed you last time.
Thank you.
Very welcome. No, thank you very much for making this presentation to us. It'll streamline the process next time around. Thank you. So last up, we have, this is DEP file number 0610788. This is in regards to 6 and 14 Beverly Street. We had a correspondence come in from the Mass DEP, and this was a project that previously came up in front of the commission, and we gave a no determination in our vote, and it was appealed, and the DEP issued an order to have it happen. They issued an NOI with a superseding order, and what this basically states is they are asking us if we would like for it to be in the DEP's purview, let them keep the project. It is very complex. It's in a very low-lying area, and it has not really gained traction as contractors have been reluctant to take a stab at it. But somebody is willing to do so, and they do have the right to build there. But in my opinion, I would like to let this stay with the DEP. They have more sources than we do. Couldn't get that one out. And what I feel is that this would be best served if it were to stay with them. So I'd like to open up for your thoughts about this, or if you would like it to be remanded to the Revere Conservation Commission.
Chair, I just wanted to just ask a quick question. This, just from my jog my own memory, was the one that all the neighbors came, they were very upset about because it's in such a low-lying area, and that's
Yes.
where all the water was being collected in that area.
Yes.
And we ended up not voting for it because the neighbors thought that by building there, it would cause the water to go to their properties.
Right, and the current project that they're proposing is now on pilings, no flow-through foundations, and it also has 2 paved driveways that are going to be potentially associated with it. It hasn't been approved yet, but yes, that is the project where, in Oak Island, where it was not very well received.
Yes, so what you're, I just want to confirm, so what you're asking is that we wouldn't have anything to do with it, it would be up to Mass DEP to handle it, or would it ever
I
come
would-
back to us?
What I'm asking is that we do not remand this to the Revere Conservation Commission and let the DEP, which has much more resources available to them, to make a better determination about this project.
Thank you, I just wanted to confirm.
Any other questions or comments? No?
I would just say to the rest of the commission, for those that may not have been on the commission when we had this, this property was, I would say, the most contested of the neighbors that came here that were very, very upset about this property being done. So if, as the chair said, Mass DEP would give more options for dealing with this, my recommendation, as having previously seen how the neighbors felt, I would say to give it to Mass DEP if that's possible. That's just my 2 cents.
It's also a parcel of property that is one of the few open parcels of property over there where you have a lot of water storage. It gets inundated with water pretty heavily in that area. I'm not sure if you've driven by it, Joe, and seen that property.
This piece of property has come in my time, at least five various times with different proposals. None of them was capable of handling the problems in that area.
Yeah,
And I'd gladly hand it over to the DEP.
okay. The complexities of a project that is going to be built on this parcel of land is quite extensive, and I want to make sure that it is handled properly, and not to say that we wouldn't handle it properly, but we don't have the resources that they do. So at this time, I'd like to call for a motion to let the DEP handle this and not remand it back to the commission.
I'll make a motion to let the DEP handle this and not remand it back to the commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And we'll be following up to the DEP with a letter stating that fact. So at this time, I don't have any enforcement on the docket. We did have a few site visits this weekend, 61 McKinley Street and 153 Winthrop Parkway. The 153 was supposed to be on the agenda tonight and pulled their submission from us. That's why we did not see them today. We just handled the correspondence from the Massachusetts DEP in regards to Beverly Street. At this time, I'd like to open up to any open discussion any commissioners might have.
Just want to say welcome to our new addition, and just to let you know, there's a possibility at the next meeting we have that someone will not be arrested. Just want to let you know that's not a common thing. So
Thank you very much.
enjoy this commission where good things happen.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm looking forward to less lively of a meeting for you next time, and for all of us. And I do apologize for having to pause the meeting for a moment, but thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate that. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.